Hello viewer, we're diving into the fascinating world of automata, intricate creations that bring art and mechanical engineering together in the most mesmerizing way. All of these amazing pieces have been designed and built by a friend of mine who has spent countless hours perfecting each one. As she demonstrates the collection, we will show you how these beautiful mechanisms come to life, all powered by human input that is transferred to wonderful movements through creative mechanisms. These automaton are shown in chronological order. This first piece, inspired by nodding birds, pays homage to Brighton, incorporating elements of the city's charm and iconic architecture. The green fence is a nod to the distinctive railings found all along the Brighton seafront. Every piece of this creation has a story of its own. The base, for example, was made from wood found right on the beach, while the wires that connect the crank mechanism to the birds were made from used guitar strings, repurposed and given new life as part of this simple but effective mechanism. This piece was made before she had developed soldering skills, and with her preference not to use glue, she relied on screws and fixings to hold everything together. Even the centerpiece of the railing across is made from a simple nut and bolt, proving that with a bit of creativity, even the most basic materials can become works of art. Now let's take a look at this charming little piece featuring a bird. As you can see, when we turn the crank handle, the motion causes the seagull to move in a gentle circular motion. The frame, crank and support for the bird are all made from wire. There are strategic bends in the metal that prevent parts slipping along the crank and jamming the mechanism. The seagull is handmade, sewn from fabric and stuffed to give it just the right amount of puff and texture. Again, the wood featured here was found on the beach, decorated with more upcycled components in the form of beads and shells from broken jewellery. It's these little touches that make the whole piece feel so personal and full of character. This piece began with a simple wooden block, pulled from a box of odds and ends once belonging to a retired electrician. It's incredible how these forgotten objects can spark new ideas, each piece with their own story to tell. The block is mounted onto a metal base, which was once a light fitting. By rotating the handle, a wooden disc starts to spin, using friction to turn another wooden disc mounted at a right angle. That disc, in turn, drives the shaft, which moves the wire attached to the fly, setting the whole assembly in motion. The decoration adds to the scene with some metal flowers. In the front is some artistic grass, which is made from shim stock, a material she frequently uses in her projects. It's easy to work with, versatile, and is easy to paint, which makes it a perfect choice for creating these delicate touches. On the front, a stamped metal plate reads "Busy Buzzing," a perfect little nod to the energy and movement that defines the piece. For a final upcycled touch, the crank is crafted from a tent peg. Turns out their size is just right for working with Meccano parts, adding another layer of ingenuity to the design. Here we are looking at a stunning peacock arrangement, mostly made from waste wood. There's something truly special about being able to see the inner workings of a piece like this. It's a bit like revealing the secret behind an illusion, but for me, it only adds to the art of it all. This automaton features two birds, both inspired by the grace of peacocks. One bird moves vertically, driven by a single cam, while the other has a more intricate movement. It's powered by two cams that create friction on a wooden disc. This friction causes the shaft to rotate in alternating directions, giving the bird a unique, almost unpredictable motion, and these cams also control the bird's vertical movement. What's really fascinating is how the distance between the cams affects the speed of the bird's rotation, adding a layer of adjustability to the motion. The mechanism is powered by a simple crank, using a tent peg with the cam secured in place with Loctite. On the plate it reads, "When life brings rain, dance like a peacock," a perfect tribute to the way peacocks elegantly dance, inspiring this beautiful piece. This larger piece, inspired by the tourist attraction I-360, which locals affectionately call the donut. This automata features a donut that rises and lowers on the structure, like the viewing platform on the actual attraction. The sprinkles on the donut are made from cut-up pieces of colourful electrical wire, adding a playful touch to the design. At the top of the piece, birds circle in the air, adding life and a sense of motion above the donut. What's particularly interesting about the art in the base is how it shows the importance of context. By giving the piece a setting, it engages us in a way that isn't solely reliant on constant movement. In fact, not everything needs to be in motion to capture attention. The metal surround in this scene is actually crafted from part of a tea caddy, showcasing the creative reuse of everyday objects. However, the real magic happens with the donut's movement. The mechanism driving this is quite intricate. A pulley system turns a larger wheel powered by a drive string. This wheel acts as a cam, levering on a wire that's passed through a fixed pivot point. As a result, the end of the lever moves in a large arc, which is then transferred via string to the top of the structure, suspending the donut and causing its vertical motion. While the mechanism has become a little sticky over time, a few adjustments would undoubtedly have everything running smoothly again. Now let's take a look at a piece inspired by steampunk aesthetics. Built entirely from acquired bits and bobs, for example, the blue object at the centre has a base that is a crown from an old watch, and the top part of the lamppost is made from an old switch. The background features a design advertising airship races, adding to the overall steampunk theme with a nod to vintage design and adventure. The handle, made from a tent peg, drives a series of wooden cams, creating both rotational and vertical movements that bring the whole structure to life. It's a beautifully simple yet effective way to animate the piece, giving it a mechanical charm that's both nostalgic and captivating. This next piece utilises a mesmerising staggered wave effect. The secret lies in the clever use of a wire shaped in a helicoil, essentially a continuous, varied cam profile that brings the waves to life. As the axle runs through the piece, it drives a wooden cam at the back, which pushes a wire to create the subtle nodding motion of the bird. Housed in a beautifully upcycled wooden box featuring comb joints that add a touch of elegance. The legs are made from used bullet shells, giving the piece a unique character. The top back section of the box is crafted from the lid, cleverly repurposed to maintain the piece's vintage feel. To add a bit more intrigue, a hand-carved wooden boat resides within the waves, giving a focal point to the flowing motion and inviting you to take in the full experience of this stunning creation. This piece draws inspiration from some of its more whimsical features, starting with the lower frame sourced from the base of a circular swivel mirror. The artist saw that the leg with the balls resembled the little feet of a sausage dog, and this was actually the driving force behind the design. The mechanism is made of metal, and it's been designed with a cam that's been profiled specifically to move the ears of the figure in an interesting way, in that they rise slowly and fall quickly. The hat is a clever combination of brass and a thimble, giving it a distinct look that ties everything together. Meanwhile, the wooden body is made from parts of an old chair hanging on brass cams, allowing for free movement. The wood has been carefully burned to create a dual colour effect that adds depth and texture to the design. The tail is made from a pipe with the end hammered closed and formed into a rounded shape, giving it a more organic feel. The base itself is crafted from the top of a cigar box, adding a vintage flair to the project. Inside, you'll find a wind-up musical box mechanism hidden within. This next piece is one of my personal favourites. It's inspired by artwork depicting alpine plants from a book about plant life, and it's housed inside a stunning glass dome clock display case. The scene within captures the essence of nature, a miniature world where plants grow among rocks, with a butterfly fluttering its wings gracefully. The rocks are crafted from lime wood and painted with incredible detail, while the flowers are made from white paper, tape and thread. Even up close, both the rocks and plants are surprisingly lifelike, all beautifully coloured using alcohol pens to give them depth and realism. On the side of the base, you'll find a discrete handle that operates the butterfly via guitar strings. The butterfly itself is made from cocktail sticks and masking tape, simple materials, but when combined they create something truly stunning. It's decorated with carefully chosen colours that blend perfectly with the rest of the scene, completing the piece with its delicate, lifelike motion. Altogether, it's a harmonious display of craftsmanship, nature and creativity, blending materials and movement to create a serene, captive moment in time. Building on the concept from the earlier wave piece, this next creation takes the same movement and transforms it into something even more dynamic. It's a scene where a cliffside is dotted with wind turbines, each one spinning at different speeds and in varying directions, creating a lively, natural rhythm. At the back of the piece, there's a wheel featuring artwork that represents both day and night. The cycle is synchronized with the shutters on the top of the box. During the day, they are open to let in more light, and as the night portion of the cycle begins, they close, casting a shadow over the scene to replicate the passing of time. The boat, an intriguing detail in this composition, is crafted from a classic car's indicator lens. It's not fixed to the waves, so it can be moved around, giving you the ability to adjust the layout of the scene to your liking. Mechanically, the majority of the movement comes from Meccano gears and chains. And to add a final touch, the plate at the front bears an inscription inspired by flags used in the design. Nothing can be done until the weather moderates, a fitting reminder of how nature and time itself can only move forward at its own pace. This piece started its life as an unusual find, a frame pulled from a skip which is likely the result of a student's welding practice. With a set of Meccano wheels added to the base, and a part of an old car headlight on top, it suddenly started to take shape. The cave of the headlight was given a painted ocean scene. The lighthouse features a rotating light with half the bulb painted out to cast directional light, just like a real lighthouse. Unfortunately, the electrics weren't cooperating on the day of filming, so we couldn't fully show off the effect. The magic happens when you turn the hand crank mechanism. It uses bent coat hanger wires as cam followers, which in turn moves the waves. Hanging from these waves are artistic wire sculptures of fish, adding an extra touch of life to the scene. And to top it all off, the decorative grass is made from shim stock, which has been carefully painted to mimic the look of plant life growing from the depths of the seabed, providing a habitat for the marine life. This piece is a copy of a mechanism designed and made by Neil Hardy. It came about after the opportunity to fix the original, which had broken. Copying another creator's design is a fantastic way to learn and understand the mechanics behind the movement. What you see here is a bat flapping its wings while sticking its tongue out as the wings fully open. Looking closely at the mechanism, you can see a spiral of wire driven by the handle, meshing with a star-shaped cog to turn the system. The rods on the wings rotate, opening and closing them. This movement is controlled by a cam at the back, which causes one of the wings to move back and forth. A push rod connects that wing wire to the other wing wire, ensuring the movement is mirrored on both sides. A second cam, made from a tab of brass, is responsible for pushing the wire that makes the bat's tongue stick out. The bat itself is carefully carved from solid wood, and the wings are made from soft chamois leather to give them that lifelike flexibility. Here we have a pair of pieces inspired by anteaters. Although these are definitely more eccentric in their design, both feature an abundance of intricate detail. The idea was to keep them similar in style, and you can really see the crossover in elements like the use of clouds, the anteater's head, and the tongue-licking motion. In this second piece, there's a fascinating mix of varied items, all working together to create the scene. The mechanism itself is another clever combination of interacting shapes, although in this case, much of it is cleverly hidden beneath the design, making the movement all the more surprising when it comes to life. This final piece is inspired by knitting, capturing the mesmerizing way the knitting needles interact when you watch someone knitting quickly. Like the nodding seagull design we saw earlier, this uses a frame, a crank, and motion, all made from wire. The crank connects to the mechanism through coils of wire, which help keep everything in place and prevent parts from shifting, causing jamming. Compared to the other pieces, this one is easier and faster to create, which makes it ideal for producing in larger quantities for sale. I hope you found this video interesting. Thanks for watching.